beautiful Bay City of San Francisco, California. And they're still celebrating on this campus their victory by their basketball team in the NIT. But the focal point today is Stanford Stadium, where today some of the top athletes out of the Big Ten and the Pac-10 have come for the 1991 Diet Pepsi Track and Field Challenge. And good afternoon, everyone. It's a beautiful afternoon here in California. Temperatures in the low to mid-70s. It's a perfect day for track and field competition, and we've got a great one for you. Working with me is two-time All-American and Ivy League champion Rich Nichols. Rich, talk a little bit about the format of this Diet Pepsi Challenge.
This is a specially formatted meet featuring the athletes from the Pac-10 and the Big Ten, some of the all-star athletes from the Big Ten and the Pac-10. It's going to give them a chance to get some real good performances here early in the season and on a beautiful day, as you noted, Ron.
And let's talk about some of those outstanding track and field athletes. Who are we going to see and in what events?
Well, you're going to see some Olympians, Patty Sue Plummer and Jeff Atkinson in the men's and women's mile. Plus, you're going to see Robert Kennedy, an NC2A indoor mile champion, giving Jeff Atkinson and some of the other runners a real run for their money in the mile today.
And we also have a very special event for you at the end of our telecast. It's called the Football 40, 40-yard dash. That's what they take a look at in the National Football League, and we have some outstanding football players who double up in the field of track, and they're going to be competing in a 40-yard distance, and that's coming up at the end of our telecast. Also working with our team today, they'll be down on the infield giving us the flavor and the feel for what's happening down there. Fred Bear and Debbie Gore, so let's go to them now for their comments. Fred?
Thanks, Ron. And working with me down here on the field is Debbie Gore as we cover both the track and the field competition. We expect some outstanding field event competition with a couple of 18-foot pole vaulters, some outstanding open competitors also, such as Pam Dukes in the shot put. And Debbie, we have some outstanding people for you to talk to on the track.
Right, and I'll be joining Fred at the finish line, bringing you results from the winners on the running distance. Back to you, Ron.
Thank you very much, Debbie, and I'll tell you what, it is going to be just an outstanding day. We have already seen, this is the third day of the competition, some outstanding performances. So we're awfully glad you could join us here on the Pacific Sports Network. Sit back, and we'll be back in just a moment for the high school 4x100 meter relay. That's coming up when we return for the Diet Pepsi 1991 Track Challenge. The Diet Pepsi 1991 Track Challenge is brought to you by the great taste of Diet Pepsi. You've got the right one, baby. And by your local cable system operator.
You got the right one, baby.
You got the right one, baby. You got the right one, baby. You got the right thing.
You got the right one.
Everybody. You got the right one.
There's only one right one, baby. You got the right one, baby.
With 100% NutraSweet. You looking for some good times? Your Kawasaki dealer's got just what you need. Good times credit. If you qualify, you can use it on just about anything in the store. Motorcycles, jet ski watercraft, apparel, accessories, even service. You'll get an answer fast, and even better, zero-down financing. So get on down to your Kawasaki dealer while you still got something left to sell you.
Now at Bike World Kawasaki in Sunnyvale.
This is prime sports Northwest territory. From the stellar heights of the NBA to dig in your heels and pray, we go where the action is. From mayhem under glass to real baseball on real grass, the Northwest best is on Prime Sports Northwest. Prime Sports Northwest, your full-time, prime-time Northwest sports network.
There are lots of places you can take your family to be enlightened, to learn more about history, or to simply have fun. Yet there's only one place where you can do all this. In your pajamas. The Disney Channel. Free preview April 11th through 14th.
And the wind beginning to pick up here at Stanford Stadium as we get ready for our first event this afternoon, the Golden West High School Girls Invitational 4x100 meter relay. As you take a look at the United States high school record held by Hawthorne, California, 45.1. And they're going to be in this competition, or no, they've been scratched from this competition. It's going to be a 3-team race. As you take a look out of lane 1, it'll be Berkeley High School. In 1981, they ran a national record of 45.13, but that's currently number 2 all-time. Rancho Cordova, which has its entire relay team back, that was 5th in the state in 1990, but they only have 2 members running. Then Muir will be in lane number 3. They led the United States last year with a 46.07 clocking. And then Benson out of Portland, Oregon, and James Logan from Union City. They will be rounding out this field of 5 for the Golden West High School Girls Invitational 4x100 meter relay. Rich, what are we going to be looking for here?
Well, I think what's interesting is that historically the Southern California teams like Hawthorne and Muir and any schools from Pasadena have typically in the past been the fastest in the country, along with some schools from Texas. So I think we need to look for Muir and possibly Berkeley. You never can tell. They had the national record in 1981 of 45.13, so they traditionally have good teams.
Are you a little bit surprised that Hawthorne is not in this race, given the fact that this is pretty good competition?
I am kind of surprised. It's a great day. It's early season, and typically they're in great shape to get some fast times early to compete with those Texas high school teams for the national title.
Let's see how the exchange is. A good exchange. Now we're ready to bring it home, and the exchange again clean. Tanya Smith qualified for the state. 4 different events last year. Was second in the high jump, third in the 100 hurdle, and fifth in the 300 hurdles, and she is going to leg it home for Muir of Pasadena as they win the championship in the Golden West High School Girls Invitational 4x100 meter relay. Really no competition, clean handoffs, quick start.
I think what they were probably looking for at this time of the season is just to have a real good first race with some clean handoffs. They had a little trouble between the 3rd and 4th runners, but she finished strong, and I think she looked relieved.
Let's take a look at one of the exchanges on the backside, Rich, and see what we can pick up. I don't know whether this is the one that they had problems with or whether this was a clean one.
This is the handoff on the second to the 3rd leg, which sometimes can be real difficult because the second place runner runs the straightaway and typically is moving into the handoff person a little quicker than usual.
So we'll take a break here and give you the final standings in our first event. Glad you could join us here at Stanford, California for the Diet Pepsi Track Challenge, and we're back with more in a moment.
I'm Bob Knoll. My official title is Head of Auto Testing for Consumer Reports magazine, but I really work for you. And there are over 200 people who work for you at Consumer Reports. We test and report on everything from toothpaste to TVs. Right now is a good time to try Consumer Reports because you can get a free trial issue with no strings attached. Here are the details.
Call now for your free trial issue of Consumer Reports, the magazine that gives you all the pros and cons of a product, including price. Call now for your free trial issue, then decide. When the bill arrives, pay it and get 11 more issues, 12 in all, including the annual buying guide issue, for just $20. Or write cancel on the bill and owe nothing. And with your paid subscription, you'll get 2 free books, our 1991 buying guide issue and the updated New Medicine Show.
So put Consumer Reports to work for you. Call now.
Call now for Consumer Reports. Call 1-800-323-3600. That's 1-800-323-3600. Improve your game. Get the inside story on golf's major tournaments. And talk directly to your favorite pro. Golf Week. Live from Scottsdale. Friday night at 11 Eastern on Prime Network.
And as we get ready for the Golden West High School Boys Invitational 4x100 meter relay, the final results, Muir out of Pasadena. And by the way, it was Deanna Knowles who ran the final leg of that relay, second fastest sprinter in California so far this year. And we have an unofficial time. You see the high school record. We'll give you that in a second, but 47.67 was the unofficial time for the Muir team. For the boys, the record is 40.21. Willow Ridge High School out of Sugar Land, Texas. And let's take a look at the teams here. Bullard out of Fresno will be in lane number 1. Independence High School from San Jose will be in lane number 2. Muir from Pasadena again in lane number 3, and that is the team to watch. And it'll be Benson out of Portland, Oregon. Hawthorne will be represented, and we think it's going to be the same team that raced a little bit earlier. They only submitted a 4x400 team. And we think it's going to be the same runners. We'll have to keep an eye on that. And then James Logan High School out of Union City.
Well, I think we have an opportunity, Ron, to see a real close race. Only 0.6 of a second separates each one of these teams' best times for 1991. They've had an early spring season despite the weather of late. So I think we're really going to see a close, fast race. So, as you noted, the Hawthorne team did run the 4x400 meter relay, and that's typical, too, of the Hawthorne High School tradition in track and field.
So keep an eye on lanes number 3, 5, and 6. That would be Muir, Hawthorne, and James Logan. As they step into the blocks, you could not ask for a better day either from a wind standpoint or from just a temperature standpoint. We were down on the infield, perfect, and they're off cleanly. Coming up on the first exchange.
Take a look at the handoffs on the turns, and then look at the handoff from the second leg to the third leg. As I said earlier, the critical thing is to make sure the second man does not run past the third man. This is what we do.
Hawthorne and Independence.
Hawthorne had a great handoff there. However, Independence on the inside is looking strong. Hawthorne's moving up closely.
It's going to be close. And it's too close for us to call. Unofficially, 42.48 seconds in the high school invitational 4x100 meter relay. What a finish.
From my vantage point, Ron, I think Independence High School might have gotten it.
On the inside.
The critical thing an anchor man has to know and has to learn and has to practice in practice is the lean at the finish line. And I think he leaned about an inch more than the athlete from Hawthorne.
Let's take a look at the last handoff at the end, which is always so crucial.
Let's see who gets the better handoff, Ron. I think the Independence team did get the better handoff and got about 1/10 of a second lead on the runner from Hawthorne. He looks like he thought he was ahead. He glances over briefly and realizes he's about 2 meters behind and tries to power into the finish. However, I think the Independence runner just leaned at the finish. Let's see. I think he leaned and got the victory today.
Well, if indeed that is the case, then that would have been Beto Lomax, who you're taking a look at right there, and it was Demon Smith who he was going up against from Hawthorne. But what a finish.
A great finish. Again, handoffs are critical. Handoffs are very critical.
Well, as I pointed out, especially at that particular point in the race, and I know that may sound like a little silly to say something that's simple to people, but it really was. It was a matter of a faulty somewhat handoff that really I think hurt Muir.
1/10 of a second.
Hawthorne.
1/10 of a second. One glance at the man coming at you with the stick will cost you the race, and I think that's what happened with him.
Okay, you can see the people coming down and still filling in here at Stanford Stadium. We'll take a break here. Come back on the other side. We'll continue Diet Pepsi Track Challenge.
Need a wheelchair lift? Campbell Nelson Volkswagen specializes in wheelchair lift vans. No modifications, very simple to use, and there's a special financial assistance program from Volkswagen. Why don't you come in and try one?
Hi, I'm Chris Olson from Seaview Chevrolet in Linwood, and here are 2 very special cars on sale right now. An 88 Chevrolet Corsica for $49.95 or an 86 Mazda 323 LX loaded for $39.95. That's Seaview Chevrolet in Linwood.
There's more to see on cable TV.
Now you can see a whole lot more for less than $1. Call 1-800-CABLE-91 and get a month of HBO, Showtime, or Cinemax for just 99 cents. Plus save half on installation. For box office hits, original movies, sports, and specials, don't miss this limited time offer. HBO, Showtime, or Cinemax, your choice for under $1. Call 1-800-CABLE-91.
You know, I bet you the Independence athletes are probably pretty happy, Ron, because it's very unusual that the Northern California sprinters beat the Southern California sprinters, so I'm sure they're going to have a happy time tonight.
We're just about ready for the start of the 4x880 yard relay, the Security Pacific Pac-10 Big Ten competition, the American record 8:23.56.
I think we're going to see a competitive race here today, Ron. This is a tough event for men and women, and typically because it's very unusual that 4 top quality 800-meter runners are on the same team. So since we have an all-star format here, we have a great opportunity to see some great women and men in the next event run this 4x880-yard relay. It's typically called the 2-mile relay or the 4x800-meter relay, but today it's the 2-mile relay. And as I said, we have 4 good 800-meter people from each conference, the Pac-10 and the Big Ten, so we should see an exciting race.
And what that means for you laymen out there is we'll see 2 runs around the track for each athlete. Is that right? If my addition is right?
That's right. Each athlete will run a half a mile, 2 laps around the track. And the toughest leg in this race is probably the leadoff leg. That person has the most tension on them because they really have to get out. It's just like running an open and free and clear 800 meters. It's tough to get position. It's tough to get a good time. The other 3 runners will be able to relax and get through it easily.
You take a look at the Pac-10 team that'll be competing against the Big Ten team. Erica Klein out of Oregon, Ashley Black from Stanford, Kim Hudson from Oregon, and Jennifer Carpenter. And then for the Big Ten, it'll be Nora Etienne from Michigan State, also Sarah Reichart from Michigan State, Christine DeVerge from Michigan State, and Amy Bannister from Michigan. You know, this is an important meet for a lot of the Big Ten athletes because they're coming off the indoor season. Plus, if anybody knows what the weather is like, even in March, almost into April, it can still force you indoors. So this is really the first test they're getting outdoors.
This is a good opportunity for them. However, earlier in the week at a press conference, some of the
runners.
This race will probably remain pretty bunched, Ron, because most of these athletes are of comparable ability. Most of them have run between 2:08 and 2:09 in the 800 meters, so they're going to stay pretty tight for most of this event.
So really what we're looking at is somebody like either Amy Bannister or Jennifer Carpenter at the end and lap, actually before the leg lap people.
I would think so. Jennifer Carpenter has the fastest time of any of the runners in this race today with a 2:05.9. However, it's very important that the lead runner establishes some position and make sure that they bring it in the lead, or at least close to the leader.
Other teams represented in this competition, a couple of Division III teams in Cal State Hayward and Cal State Los Angeles, and a late entry was Washington State. But still running out in front and quite comfortably with about a 2-yard advantage, but now giving it up is Erica Klein of Oregon, a sophomore from Linwood, Washington.
Erica Klein took the challenge and tried to. She's making a move right now around this last turn. It looked like she had it. However, she is holding off the challenge, and it looks like she's going to hand the baton off in the lead to...
That'll be going to Ashley Black of Stanford. She takes it cleanly and breaks out. Washington State, which was a late addition, has moved into second place. And then Nevada, also a late addition, is in third place.
The second place runner's job in this event is to maintain the lead. To maintain the lead, do not drop off the pace, and try to bring it in even or ahead.
Stanford, then Washington State in third place behind Michigan State. So as they continue, this is the second leg of what is the 880-yard, 4x880-yard relay. Let's go to Fred Bear and find out what's happening in the pole vault down in the infield. Fred?
Our first field event today is the women's shot put, and we have Pam Dukes, the leader, at 53.2 on her first early put, is now coming up for her last throw of the afternoon. Pam is a Olympic team alternate in 1988, finished 4th in the U.S. Olympic trials, a former Stanford competitor. She will not figure in the scoring today, but she should explode on this last throw here, and she's going to improve upon her best. Her winning throw, 54 feet, 1 3/4 inches. So Pam Dukes, representing Nike Coast, is going to be your winner today. She's got a best of 56.2½, so she's not too far off of that for early season competition. And Ron, let's go back now to some more competition in the 2-mile relay.
Well, as you can see, there's been a change in second place. The Big Sky All-Stars And they are in that royal blue outfit, but a move is being made to take second place, and I cannot pick up a number yet. But still out in front and very comfortable is Ashley Black.
As you can see, Ashley Black has done her job for the Pac-10 conference. She's maintained the lead. She's finishing strong. She looks relaxed, and the third place competitor will definitely have an advantage because she can run relaxed for this next 2 laps.
Sarah Reichard now moving into second place. That's Cal State Los Angeles in a virtual tie on the exchange to the number 3 runner.
That's Kim Hudson from Oregon who's in the lead. She's running 2:09.81 for the 800 meters. Her job today is going to be to maintain this lead.
And she's running very comfortably. As we pointed out, the temperature's in the mid-70s here, and is usually the case. The wind starts to pick up in the afternoon. As we take a look down on the infield, we see that wind is beginning to kick up, and it's a crosswind. It's coming across the track. So it will aid them maybe slightly as they head down the backstretch and down to the south end of the stadium. And then they may run into a problem as they come to the home stretch and have to face it. It'll be a quartering wind.
Sometimes the wind in the stadium is very deceiving. Sometimes it's in your face all the way around. It's a swirling wind because of the bowl nature of this stadium.
Well, the only reason I point that out, I've heard a lot of quarterbacks use it as an excuse. Coming up on the end of the 5th lap, and it's Kim Hudson out of Oregon, still out in front, but that lead has dwindled somewhat. She's only out in front by about 20 to 25 yards.
She looks like she's struggling a bit, too. It is early in the season, and I think the early season is taking its toll on her. If she's not careful, she's going to get caught pretty soon.
Of course, a great tradition of running at the University of Oregon, most notably out of there, named by the name of a runner by the name of Steve Prefontaine, who they still have an invitational meet up there, don't they?
They do. They have the Prefontaine Classic every June, and Steve Prefontaine was a tremendous athlete in Oregon, and Eugene used to be Track City, USA. They've produced some great track and field athletes for the United States and for the world.
Cal State Los Angeles making a push now for the lead, and we do not have the name of the runner because they were a late entry. But moving up easily on Kim Hudson and about to take that lead, only a step behind as they get ready to come to the home stretch. But Christine DeVerge out of Michigan State also making her move for the Big Ten. And she is closed within about 15 yards as well. And now the lead has been surrendered by Kim Hudson of Oregon. And she hands it over to Cal State Los Angeles, and that's how it's going to be unless something changes here.
But you know, Ron, Kim Hudson's holding her own down the final straightaway, and she did not lose that much ground.
So actually, this race is going to come down to the legs of Jennifer Carpenter out of Washington State, the junior from Moses Lake, Washington, and the Pac-10 800 champion in 1989. And she has regained the lead for the Pac-10 with Cal State Los Angeles in second.
Here at Stanford in 1989, Amy Bannister.
The man that's behind this invitational and this track challenge is Brooks Johnson, the fine track coach, longtime track coach here at Stanford, and Fred Bear is down there with him. Go ahead, Fred.
Brooks Johnson talked to us about the competition as the instigator of this competition. Brooks is a former Olympic coach, now the coach at Stanford, and has brought us his competition today, and he's telling us a little bit about what it means.
Well, we would like to reinstitute some cheering interest in track and field. All too often meets are held with all-stars and people running against the clock and jumping against the tape. We think that there needs to be a rooting interest brought back into track and field, some partisanship. So we thought that the best thing to do is to bring together 2 super conferences, the Pac-10 and the Big Ten together, and sort of informal head-to-head competition.
And for Stanford, how is this going to help you, or do you have an outstanding performance that you expected to bring out of any of your athletes today?
Well, I was just talking with the pole vaulter from Washington State, and he's pretty juiced up to be jumping against some guys from the Big Ten, and it's the same with all of us. I mean, I think it's a natural rivalry. We do it in the Rose Bowl, and now we're doing it in track and field.
Carpenter is getting quite a challenge from Cal State Los Angeles' Marlene Harmon Wilcox, and it is a 2-woman race here as they come down to the home stretch.
You know, Ron, I think they're both biding their time, waiting for that last 100 meters, and I think we're going to see a very, very serious sprint to the finish. As you can see, they're gearing up now.
And Wilcox moves into the lead. passing on the right side. She is strengthening her run, and she is now legging it out, and it's going to be a major upset here by Cal State Los Angeles, a Division II school, with Marlene Harmon-Wilcox outlasting Jennifer Carpenter, and finishing in third place will be Michigan's Amy Bannister. Surprise you, Rich?
Yeah, very surprising, but Marlene Wilcox ran a very, very smart race. She stayed on the shoulder of Jennifer Carpenter, knowing that Jennifer was a 2:05 800-meter person. She knew that it may come down to the final 110.
Let's take a look at the top of the home stretch and watch the kick where she takes over the lead.
As you can see, Jennifer Carpenter's shoulders dropped. Marlene Wilcox could see that and decided that was the time to take it to her and go past her. Once someone passes you like that, it's pretty much over. There's not too much that you're going to be able to do to respond.
Just under 9 minutes, our official time. Our unofficial time at 8:58.77. So Marlene Harmon-Wilcox out of Cal State Los Angeles, and they post the upset over both the Pac-10 and the Big Ten. And we'll return with more here to Stanford Stadium with the 1991 Diet Pepsi Track and Field Challenge, with more to come on the Pacific Sports Network.
Announcing the amazing Tea-rific. This revolutionary new tea is always straight up and always the right height. Consistency is engineered in, so you have to improve your distance and accuracy, and that has to lower your score. We've designed 4 precision heights for woods and irons. The amazing Tea-rific can improve your distance, improve your accuracy, and lower your score, all for less than the cost of one session with a golf pro. For only $9.95 plus shipping and handling, you'll receive 50. That's 50 revolutionary Tea-rifics. Plus, while supplies last, we'll include 2 free tea totes, so place your order today. Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-942-4300 or send check or money order for $9.95 plus $2.50 shipping and handling to West Tech Products, Post Office Box 3343, Ogden, Utah 84409. That's West Tech Products, Post Office Box 3343, Ogden, Utah 84409, or call 1-800-942-4300 and call today.
For the competition and not worry about who was running, and it worked out fine. We held together.
And you had a really strong kick at the end now. Did you know you had that much to go and that you were going to, you can see the end right here. Can you see that?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to go on the far turn over here, about 300 meters to go. But I said, no, wait. This is a race. This isn't for time. Just wait. She's going to get tired. And I decided to shift gears off the turn.
Yeah, you look like you had a lot left over.
I did.
Okay, so thank you very much, and back to you, Ron.
Thank you, Debbie, and our congratulations to going to Cal State Los Angeles and Marlene Harmon-Wilcox, who runs the anchor leg and posts the upset. And I think what she said, Rich, immediately was the fact that she didn't know who was in the race, so they decided not to worry about it. As you take a look at our final results and the official time of 8:59.06.
You know, Ron, I'm sure that the schools from the Pac-10 and the Big Ten weren't worried about Cal State Los Angeles either.
The American Airlines Pac-10 Big Ten men's 4x880-yard relay is up next. And as they get ready to start for the Big Ten, it's going to be Kevin Jardine out of Ohio State, Chris Brown from Michigan State, Rick Gledhill from Michigan State, and Neil Newman from Michigan. The Pac-10 will be represented by Michael Gilbert of Washington State, Shannon Lamora from Oregon, Chris McBride from Washington State, and Dave Strang out of Stanford. Other teams represented: Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, Humboldt State, Cal State Hayward, University of California at Santa Barbara, University of Nevada, Reno, and Fresno Pacific University.
You know, Ron, I was talking to Brooks Johnson last night, and he pulled me aside and said, Rich, make sure you pay some close attention to the men's 4x800-meter relay tomorrow, because I really think it's going to be a hummer. And I think he's right. We have some athletes here who have run 147 and 148 in this event. Most of them have. So I think we're going to see a very close, fast event.
University of Nevada, Reno, the early leader with the Pac-10, and Washington State's Michael Gilbert, followed by Kevin Jardine out of Ohio State as they come to the end of the first lap. This is an 8-lap race, 2 by each member of the relay team.
You know, Michael Gilbert from Washington State is quite a story. He's 5'5", has run a 400 meters in 45.8, and I'm real surprised to see him in the 800 meters. However, he has run a 149.13, which is not bad for a quarter mile.
And now it looks like the Pac-10 will take the lead, and they do. as Michael Jobert out of Washington State, who was 7th in the NCAA 400 meters in 1990 as a freshman.
With his 400 speed, they may be hard-pressed to catch him in this last turn of this race.
However, Kevin Jardine out of Ohio State is not going to let him get too far away. Jardine, a sophomore from Ontario, Canada, and a member of the 1991 Big Ten Championship 4x400 relay team.
You know, the way Jobert is looking, he might consider switching to the 800 meters. He's got great leg speed, and he looks pretty strong for a 400-meter man running the 800.
Jobert hands off to Shannon Lamore out of Oregon. So as they continue this men's 4x880-yard relay, let's go down to Fred Bear.
And we have Sam Bell with us here, a former coach in the Pac-10 at Cowan, Oregon State, but now he's in Indiana. He's the coordinator of the Pac-10 All-Star team today, and he's really a Midwesterner at heart these days. I'd like a comment from Sam on this new meet concept that he's coordinating the Big Ten for. Sam.
Well, it's kind of fun to be back, and I was talking to our local press about this after this came up, and they were really excited because they remembered the old Pac-10, or the old PCC Big Ten meets after the NCAA, which was back in the 40s and early 50s. And, it's a concept, I think, that anything we can do to create interest in our sport, I think we need to do, and no one's ever accused Brooks Johnson of not having ideas, and so I think it's a good concept and maybe something we can build on in the future.
Thank you, Sam. Any particular highlight or individual you're looking forward to a big performance from today?
Well, I'm looking forward to the mile race because Bob Kennedy won the NCAA indoor mile, and Washington State's runner was third, and Jeff Atkinson's in it, who was an Olympian in 1988, and in the 1500, and Brian Abshire was in the steeplechase in the Olympics, so it should be a great contest.
And speaking of a great contest, we've got one here with the second men in this relay as
you've got Chris Brown from Washington State.
Shannon Lamora is still continuing to lead, but Chris Brown is pushing him. And as they get ready for the handoff to the number 3 men, it's going to be a virtual tie. And that's going to be going for the Big Ten. It'll be going to Rick Gledhill out of Michigan State, while Chris McBride of Washington State will be handling it for the Pac-10.
I think as you noticed in that handoff, you didn't see either runner trying to take the initiative to take the lead. I think this race may turn into a strategic one.
And that means it'll also come down to Neil Newman out of Michigan for the Big Ten and Dave Strang from Stanford.
And that'll be a tremendous duel. That'll be a tremendous duel to the finish of this race, with Newman having run a 1:47.8 and David Strang from Stanford having run a 1:47.4, and they're both quick and they have great leg speed, and if the race is close like this, stay tuned. It'll be a good one.
If you joined us late, this is the 1991 Diet Pepsi Track and Field Challenge, and it at least from a scoring standpoint, pits Pac-10 athletes against Big Ten athletes, and we have some very, very high-profile races coming up. We've got the Mizuno Mile, we've got the 100-meter women's and men's competition, and as you can see now, McBride has given up the lead to Rick Gledhill from Michigan State.
Looks like Gledhill decided at the 300-meter point that he was going to take the challenge and take the lead and see if he got a response, and he's not getting much of one from the Pac-10 competitor.
And this could be the point that the Big Ten buries the Pac-10 in this competition, because it does not appear as if McBride is going to try to make up any of that ground. In fact, he really is giving up more track to him.
But I wouldn't count out the anchor legs on either one of these teams. Typically in the 800 meters, the wheat is separated from the chaff at the 500 to the 600 point on the backstretch, and that's exactly what Mr. Gledhill did at this point in time.
However, Neil Newman out of Michigan, who will be running the final leg for the Big Ten, second in the 800 at the 1991 Big Ten Indoor Championships. And Dave Strang, of course, senior from Stanford, 1990 Pac-10 champion in the 800. So it's exactly what we thought. It's going to be a great finish.
Strang is a tough competitor. Don't ever count him out. I hope Mr. Newman hasn't counted him out either. Although Newman is taking off pretty relaxed, it looks like he's trying to be a bit conservative. And as you can see, Strang is closing some distance pretty quickly.
I think what he wants to do is at least plant into the mind of Newman that he is there.
Well, I'm not sure Newman knows that he's there yet. He's running pretty relaxed.
I think he knows he's there. He knows who he was going to have to be going up against.
Well, if it were me, I'd know he's there. I tell you that because David Strang is just a tough guy.
As you can see by the clocking, a little bit better than 6 minutes into this race. And we're coming up on the final lap. Still about 20 yards to be made up by Dave Strang of the Pac-10 out of Stanford, with the leader being Neil Newman from Michigan.
He's closing slowly, but he is closing. I think Newman looks like he's getting a little tight.
Yes, he looks like he's running a little bit more uncomfortably than he was when he took the handoff.
And I think Strang has noticed that because he's certainly picked up his leg speed and the pace in this turn, and he's probably going to hit the 500-meter point and really hammer it on the backstretch.
How much of an advantage does Strang have, knowing this track, being able to train outdoors quite a bit? So this is not an unusual condition for him, but for Newman out of Michigan, he's getting his first taste of the outdoors.
Well, Strang has a tremendous advantage in that he is running on his home track, plus he has the advantage of being loose and behind. He knows where he is. Newman doesn't know where he is, and it looks like Strang knows how Newman feels because his shoulders just went back, and he's tightening up in the turn, and if Strang has anything left, he may catch it.
I don't know that he's going to be able to, as Newman is now very comfortable. Strang is putting on the kick, but he still has about 20 yards to make up as they come down to 25, 30 yards away from the finish line, and he'll not catch him. It's going to be Big Ten winning the men's 4x8 80-yard relay. Cal San Luis Obispo will finish a distant third.
Well, I tell you, but Mr. Newman is real glad that he didn't have about 40 meters to go because he was hurting in that last 40 meters of that race.
Right. And here is a finish back in the pack. Unofficially, we have a time of 7:23:49.
Which is a very good time for this early in the season.
So it'll be Big Ten first, Pac-10 second, and Cal San Luis Obispo finish third. We'll take a break and come back with more for the 1991 Diet Pepsi Track and Field Challenge.
You know when it's right, you know when you feel it, baby. You hold it, you hear it, you taste it, it's right. You got the right one, baby. It's this irrepressibly lovable, unsurpassably callable, and intimately soulful. You got the right one, baby.
With 100% NutraSweet.
A reminder to all senior high school track and field coaches, competitors, and fans, the 32nd Annual Golden West Invitational Track and Field Meet is scheduled for June 8th in Sacramento, California. If you know of an athlete who may qualify for this elite field and extraordinary experience, you may contact the GWI Selection Committee at P.O. Box 60813, Sacramento, California, 95860, or call them at 916-427-3664. We have an interview with the winner, so let's go down to Debbie Gore on the infield. Debbie.
Thanks, Ron. I've got Rick Glendhill and Neil Newman, the third and fourth leg. And Rick, you really opened it up and put a little distance for Neil here. Can you talk about your leg a little bit?
Well, I didn't expect to feel so good on the first lap, and we felt really comfortable. I don't know what our split was. And then I figured, well, I'll try to break him early because I knew Neil was really one of our strongest legs. So I took him on the backstretch before the first lap. So then I tried to break him right then.
Right, and with that advantage, then you kind of looked really comfortable on that first lap, but I thought that Strange might catch you. What was your strategy then going into that second lap?
Well, going into that first lap, I just figured Rick got a nice lead for me. I figured I'd just take it out hard and relax. And you know, when you have a lead like that, you're at the advantage because while they're trying to catch up to you, you know, they got to work extra hard. So I figured if he did come on me, I would save him a little bit so I have another gear for him.
Okay, now how about running outdoor in this beautiful sunshine coming from the indoor season? Any impact on that? Did that help you run today, or was it a little adversity running here?
Well, it felt kind of different because I don't know what State's been doing, but we haven't even been on the track since indoors, so it's kind of a new feeling. It feels great, though, being out in the warm, sunny air and all that, so we're having a great time.
Okay, what do you think, Rick?
I'm surprised our fitness from indoors really carried over because I expected to be really tired also. We haven't been doing much speed work either, so we're coming back, and I was really surprised how good I felt in the first lap, so I think that kind of gave me some confidence for the second lap.
All right, well, congratulations on the relay win.
All right.
Thanks, Ron. Back to you guys.
So, Debbie, apparently Neil Newman confirming what we said about running indoors and then having it feel a little bit strange as you take a look at the final results in the American Airlines men's 4x880 relay, the Big Ten winning it in a timing of 7:23.94. Pac-10 is second. Cal San Luis Obispo finished third, and also a distance fourth, UC Santa Barbara. After two events, we can give you a total team score here, because the other ones they're keeping numbers for is for the Big Ten and the Pac-10. Big Ten with a point lead over the Pac-10, 24-23. We have one of those high-profile events now getting ready to get started. It's the Acapulco Pac-10 Big Ten Women's 100-meter competition. And the middle of the track is what you're going to want to take a look at. There you can see Florence Griffith Joyner, July 1988, the world and the American record, 10.49. The collegiate record at 10.78. Out of lane number one, Monique Hayes of Ohio State. Best time of a little bit better than 12 seconds, 12.01. Jennifer Galco from Washington State in lane number two. And then Shirley Evans from Michigan State, lane three. But watch Christy Gaines from Stanford. She is the favorite. Second favorite would have to be Sue Walton, who will be right next to her out of Ohio State. And Rosie Williams will push Gaines and Walton. She'll be in lane number 6. So it's 4, 5, and 6. Your favorites to watch. Regina Fry, a freshman out of Indiana, will be in lane number 7. And Tanya Smith from Washington State will be on the outside at lane number 8. We're about ready to get this one underway.
Yes. Christy Gaines is a tremendous challenge from Stanford, Ron, and she's the defending Pac-10 champion at 100 meters. This race is kind of tough because it's kind of early in the season. These athletes have not run the 100 meters yet. It's a warm day, that's lucky, and they're all hoping they don't get hurt.
It's a clean start, Gaines, but on the inside out of lane number 1, Monique Hayes. But it's going to be Gaines all the way, and nobody will catch her.
She's looking very
Gaines,
smooth.
Williams, and we'll have to see if it's not Walton. But it was clearly Gaines as she came out of the blocks quickly, unofficially at 11.65.
Well, if that's the official time, she'll certainly have to be happy with that this early in the season. She had a great start. She looked very smooth.
You take a look at second place there, that would be, it looks like, Rosie Williams out of Oregon, but then Michigan State, maybe Shirley Evans slipped in there. So let's watch it again and see where Christy Gaines, watch the start that she gets. She comes up high out of the blocks and just bursts out of there.
She had a great start for this early in the season. She certainly has to be happy with that. She's driving very well down the center of the track. She looks very smooth. Her knees are up high. She's just relaxed. She's feeling good.
Sue Walton was right beside her, but Evans also making an effort at the end. Debbie, you've got the winner down there.
I'm here with Christy now, and you did look very fluid, and I know it's early in the season. How are you feeling in terms of your starts and your gaining speed down the end there?
My start's pretty good. I've run 55 indoors, so my start isn't a problem. It's probably the middle of the race. Have some problems in there.
And so this early and with this nice weather, do you feel that your form is okay, and do you feel like you're on some kind of personal record season?
I'm hoping I'm on a personal record season, but my form's pretty good. It's not too much different from indoors. It's 100 is a lot farther than 55, but they're pretty good. I hope this will be a good season. Should be.
Okay. Thanks, Ron, and that's the winner, Christy Gaines, of the women's 100-meter dash.
So no question about who won it, and just as we suspected, it was Sue Walton out of Ohio State, who ran 11.64 yesterday in winning a heat. And then in third place was Shirley Evans from Michigan State, the junior from Detroit. She finished third. So that's the official finish. We'll take a break here, come back with the men's 100-meter competition as we continue with more from Stanford Stadium.
It's hard to believe what life would be like without pencils, telephones, computers, and even paper clips. And yet these everyday products were created by people much like you. If you have an idea, invention, or new product you'd like to submit to industry, Invention Submission Corporation has a free inventor's kit to help you get started. The kit contains a form for recording and dating your invention, an information brochure, and other materials of interest to inventors. Invention Submission Corporation is one of America's largest invention service companies. We can show you how your invention can be packaged and submitted to industry. So call ISC now for your free inventor's kit.
For your free inventor's kit, call toll-free 1-800-525-1000. That's 1-800-525-1000.
The speed, the power,
Get the inside story on America's favorite thrill sport. Join host Eli Gold for This Week in NASCAR. Live from Darlington, Thursday night at 11 Eastern on Prime Network.
This is the culmination of 3 days of competition, and let's take a look at the official final results of the women's 100-meter competition. Christy Gaines handily winning it over Sue Walton and Shirley Evans, and Rosie Williams of Oregon was a distance fourth. So let's go down to Fred Bear one more time. Fred?
Thanks, Ron. I'm here with John Chaplin, the Washington State coach and a veteran international coach. In fact, John, we even took a team to the World University Games together in Europe 2 years ago, but this is a little different. Today you're coordinator of the Pac-10 All-Star team, and it's a bit of a different challenge for you. John.
Well, this is a real good concept. As you know, years ago in the 40s, we had this concept, Pacific 10, Big 10 as a dual meet, and it was very successful, and I'm glad to see we're doing it again. Brooke should be commended in putting this together. The rest of us stood in the sidelines just kind of watched, but this kind of thing might be the kind of thing that television will buy and the public will buy, and as long as there's a score, because, you know, nobody wants to watch anything that's not scored, and I think this is a good concept.
John, and anybody in particular you're watching or expecting a great performance from today?
Well, I'm interested to see what the steeplechase would look like. It should be a good race with a kid from Ohio State, Kogan, who is the defending champion, and some Pacific 10 kids that are All-Americans. And, of course, the 100 meters, I got a kid in there who won the 55 indoor, and I'd like to see what he can do outdoor. And I think the two relays, the 800 and the 400, will be very, very good relays.
And we're going to be watching the middle of the track once again in this event, which is the Acapulco men's 100 meters. Let's run down the field for you. Out of lane number 1, Martin Hill from Indiana, a junior from Detroit, missed last year due to ineligibility. In lane number 2, George Obadi from Washington State. He is a triple jumper from Nigeria, and he's one of the co-favorites. Lane number 3, Fred Kiles from Michigan State. He holds the Michigan State record for the indoor 200 meters with a timing of better than 21.6. Also, Augustin Obadiah out of Washington State. First 1991 outdoor race for him since his recent indoor championship as he defeated the Rocket out of Notre Dame. Rocket Ishmael. Aaron Payne from Ohio State will be in lane number 5. Watch him as well. He is a wide receiver for the Buckeyes. Ronnie Harris from Oregon in lane number 6. Tico Duckett from Michigan State replacing Corey Pryor from Michigan State. He's in lane 7, and lane 8 will be Mike McClendon out of Oregon as they get ready to step into the blocks.
Well, Ron, as Christy Gaines noted in the women's 100 meters, these athletes are probably a bit concerned about the 100-meter distance because it is a lot longer than 55 meters, which is what they've been running during the indoor season. So you're going to see some quick starts, but there may be some faltering in the race in the middle stages of the race.
Keep an eye on lanes number 2 and lane number 4, Obadi and Olabia. Clean start. On the inside, Martin Hill, but in the middle of the track, it's going to be Augustin Olabia from Washington State. And like Christy Gaines did for Stanford in the Big Ten, he just burst out, and so did Obadiah.
He looked like a powerhouse running down the center of that track. His start wasn't particularly quick, but he looked good during the middle stages of the race.
He was second in the NCAA at this distance in 1989 in Provo with a timing of 10.09. And I think, again, it was the middle of the race where he took command.
I think you're right. He didn't have a great start. As you can see, he faltered a bit, and he's behind at this point early on in the race. However, his arm action is very important here. He's a very strong runner. And you can see his arms pumping and his knees coming up high, and he just pulls away from the rest of the field. That arm action is very, very important.
Well, I'll tell you what, you take a look at the stride, too. It's such a long stride, and he has that upper body muscle. So Debbie Gore is the winner, and that winner coming out of the Big Ten, make it the Pac-10, Washington State's Augustin Olabia. Debbie?
I got the winner here, and I was practicing his name. I asked him to pronounce it. How did you feel in that race? Looked like you picked it up in the middle.
Yeah. This race is, I don't know.
So in this outdoor event here, running against the Big Ten and the Pac-10, how do you feel about this format? Is it conducive to a preseason type of event?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. It would be better if all Pac-10 schools and all Big Ten schools participate in it.
Oh, you'd like it if more participants were here. All right, and hopefully another good season for you, or where are you, do you think, in your training format right now?
Yeah, well, that's up to my coach, but I think I'll do okay.
Okay. Well, a limited interview here. On back to you guys, winner of the men's 100 meters.
I tell you, it's awfully tough as we watch it once again. And again, notice that he stood up a little bit early, and I think that's where he faltered at the start.
Yeah, he stood straight up in the blocks. I think he has long legs, and typically it takes a long time for a long-legged runner to get his legs going out of the blocks. But once he did, it was all over.
What's amazing is the type of distance that he made up, because as you pointed out, I think probably the first 25 to 30 meters he was really not in contention.
He was looking at backsides for the first 25 to 30 meters. But I would suspect he's going to have a great season.
10.37 is the official timing as Olabia comes up with the victory for Washington State and the Pac-10. In second place, Aaron Payne out of Ohio State, and George Obadi was third. We'll be back with more.
Hank has owned this store for a lot of years. As you can see, he hasn't spent a lot of money to keep this place fancy. Truth of the matter is, Hank is pretty darn frugal with his money. The folks around here trust Hank, and he always looks to do the same. That's why he bought his pickup from Doxon Toyota.
'Cause I'm tight with my money.
And he trusts them. Doxon Toyota of Auburn, a part of the Doxon Motors Corporation.
Competition continuing on a beautiful afternoon here in Northern California. You're looking at Stanford Stadium, a good crowd enjoying the competition in the 1991 Diet Pepsi Track and Field Challenge. We're coming up in a moment to one of those premier events, but here officially are the results of the Acapulco men's 100-meter competition. And you can see Augustin Olabia, 10.37, 3/10 of a second better than Aaron Payne. This field for the Mizuno Women's Mile, an outstanding field, but there is one name that stands above others, and that is Patty Sue Plummer. You might talk a little bit about her credentials, Rich.
Well, Patty Sue certainly came of age in 1990. She won the Goodwill Games, about 5,000 meters. She was rated the top U.S. distance runner, female distance runner last year, and she felt real good about last year's season.
Of course, she had a great year last year, and she talked to us about coming back to competitive running.
I think the most significant aspect of 90, besides the world rankings, which were great, was the fact that I learned how to race well. I learned how to run fast in 89. I learned how to race well in 90. So the times really were almost irrelevant. I won. I learned to win. My philosophy toward racing is that when the gun goes off, I have no friends. I have no family. I have no one out there except myself. I don't race against any individual in particular. I race against the clock, and I race against myself. And once you cross the finish line, I have no difficulty with being friends with anyone, whether they beat me or whether I beat them.
She is an assistant coach here at Stanford, having graduated from here, 29 years old, and has a dual profession, loves track and field, but also is a very successful lawyer as well. The American record holder in 5,000 meters, Patty Sue Plummer. Take a look at the world record and the American record. This field also includes Tina Colebrook out of Great Britain, and it was a year ago that these two really hooked up in what you called a barn burner, when it was decided at the end by Plummer just leaning across the finish line. As you take a look at the rest of the field along with Plummer, Cece St. Jim, Melanie Block out of Stanford. Anybody else jump out there at you? Especially the one name that I saw also was Ayako Arai.
Japan. She's the Japanese record holder. She's running 2:04 800 meters plus a 4:15 1500 meters, and she's very, very competitive.
What will Plummer's strategy be here, Rich?
Well, Patty Sue is not one who sits back and waits for someone else to take the pace. She typically leads, and I think that's what she's doing now. And she's going to bide her time. She wants to know how she feels right now. This is a testing type situation for her. It's her first big race of the outdoor season. She came off a great season last year, and typically when you're an athlete who's had a great year in the year before, you're really worried about and wondering whether or not you're going to be able to repeat those performances from the previous year.
And And it's St. Jim and Plummer, alumni of Stanford, out in front.
And these two train together every day, so they know each other. And CC St. Jim is a story in and of herself. She was a top quality NC2A champion here at Stanford in 1982. Took some years off, and she's trying to make a comeback this year.
One of the things that surprised me a little bit is that there's not a rabbit in this field, almost in a sense, to set the pace. Why not?
Well, probably because you have Patty Sue Plummer. She usually takes the lead herself and doesn't need and doesn't like rabbits, really. I think one of the interesting comments she made during the piece you just saw is that she learned how to race well last year. She learned how to win. That may sound very academic to our viewers, but learning how to race and learning how to win is very important. You can be a top quality athlete, have some real top talent, but not know how to win.
Anna Rai, the Japanese record holder, giving way from second, dropping down to third. St. Jim also up there, black as well, but it's Patty Sue Plummer out by about 20 yards in front. She also is the type of runner, off the comments that we heard just before the race, where she said, when the race starts, I have no friends. I go out there to win. I've often felt about Patty Sue that she is the type of person that will go out, challenge the field, and if she can blow them away and destroy them mentally or emotionally, she'll do it.
I think that was quite clear last year in last year's Goodwill games, where she really wasn't expected to do well or to win, and she challenged the toughest competition in the world and beat them at their own game.
Well, here is a good example. She has a good 30 to 40-yard lead over Colebrook, and after 2 laps of this race, it may be all over with.
Well, I never count Tina Colebrook out, and you should never say a race is over until it's over. The famed words from Yogi Berra. But Patty Sue looks pretty smooth. She typically does lead these races, and she's testing herself right now. It's early in the season. She wants to know how she feels and how far she's going to be able to take it this year.
Colebrook set the collegiate record of the mile last, 4:26.16 in 90.
And Patty Sue ran a 4:33 this year indoors, which is a respectable time on the indoor circuit.
But it's Patty Sue Plummer, and she's widening that lead ever so slightly.
She's looking very relaxed, very comfortable, very well within herself. Tina Colebrook is trying to pick up the pace a bit on the backstretch. And CC St. Jim is looking pretty good for someone who hasn't really competed at this level for quite some time. She's in third place right now.
I don't know whether Patty Sue is making a fashion statement or she's just being cool. Is she wearing sunglasses?
You know, she wore those glasses all last year, and a lot of people asked her about them. In fact, she looks like she has a little tapered version of the glasses. Last year, the glasses seemed to cover her entire face, but this year she's got a more sleek version of them.
And she's coming down and will get the gun lap as she comes to the finish line, but with 1 lap to go.
She's challenging herself right now, Ron. She's going to see what she can do, how strong she is in this last 400 meters.
And that's what the good runners do. When they know that they're not being pushed by anybody, they have to then be challenged from within. There's the gun lap with about a 40-yard lead as she goes into the final lap here in this Mizuno Women's Mile.
Well, if she's running 60 or 61 second pace, we're probably going to find a 4:23 or 4:24 finishing time, which is pretty good for this time of the year.
Now, if Colebrook is going to make a serious challenge on her, where will it come here in this final lap?
Well, she'd have to start moving now. I don't think anyone's going to be able to challenge Patty Sue right now. I think Tina is probably challenging herself. She, too, wants to know where she is at this early time in the season.
Now, wait a minute. I went back and lap 2, and I said, I think this race is almost over with, and you said...
Well, it's never over till it's over. I mean, I've been in positions where Patty Sue is right now where I've tripped and fallen after I've had a 100-yard lead. So when you cross the tape and break it, that's when you win.
Yeah, I saw you walk up the steps. I can understand how that happened to you. And Patty Sue Plummer out in front, and she is going to win this Mizuno Women's Mile. I feel safe at saying that.
I think you can be safe in that. I think we need to look at CC St. Jim in third. She's looking pretty good for the first major competition in a very, very long time. She's turning it on. She may even have an opportunity to catch Tina Colebrook.
And this is going to be a good 70-yard victory for Patty Sue Plummer. The American record holder in the 5,000 meters at 15 minutes exactly. Colebrook will finish second, and CC St. Jim will finish third.
I think Patty Sue looked a little winded, a little spent at the end of this race, and that's because, not so much because of her conditioning, but because it's very, very difficult to take a race out like this and lead it from the gun to the tape.
By the way, for those people from the San Francisco area, that name St. Jim may be familiar to them because a couple years ago they had a fine running back by the name of Pete St. Jim, and that is her husband. So Stanford takes first and third with Patty Sue Plummer showing the world class that she is.
I'm sure that Patty Sue's been training through this race, but she looks like she's pleased with her performance. She's smiling as usual as she heads over to the interview tent.
There is Plummer. The blonde that you saw, the beautiful blonde, is St. Jeff. Outstanding athlete. There she is.
I think she ran well within herself today, Ron. I think she's not even looking winded or spent. I think she's probably pleased with her performance. It's been such a long time since she's competed at this level.
And for Plummer, this being the most serious competition that she has faced this year, I think she'll use this as a springboard. Let's find out as I see she's down on the side in the infield with Debbie Gore. Debbie?
I'm here with Patty Sue. A pretty easy race for you. Did you feel comfortable? Well, okay, talk about it.
It was pretty hard. I mean, the time 4:31 is good for this track, but I have to say that I worked pretty hard for that time. Now I ran alone and there was a pretty good breeze, but I'm tired.
And you worked hard because of the level of competition that was here today, or are you tuning for some additional race down the road here?
Well, both. You can't discount people in this race. Tina and I are, I think, now 3 and 2 in head-to-head competition. Sissy's been training very, very well with me, so I know how good she's doing. But we do have, some very big meets coming up, so we couldn't afford either to take it easy because of the competition or because we need the training.
And now that you're running and so far late in your career, how do you keep it all together with the family and the law work and the running?
Well, I have a great firm that really supports me, for one, and I also have a terrific husband. And I've got a terrific coach and training partner, so I'm really in an ideal situation to train and do the things I need to do.
Great. Well, congratulations again, Patty Sue. Back to you as runner.
Okay. Terrible when they say at 29 years old you're over the hill, isn't it? We'll take a break here and come back. Glorious afternoon for track and field competition. We're glad you could join us on the Pacific Sports Network.
17 feet 0 3/4 inches. And here's our list of competitors today. As you can see in front of you, Carson, Oliver, Van Pelt, Merrick, Buzak. And now we're going to look at the winning jump today from Brad Darr. He's cleared 17 feet 0 3/4 inches. Michigan senior from Hudson, Michigan. He was 4th in the 1990 NCAA Indoor Championships. Good clearance, well over the bar. First person to clear 17 feet 3/4 inch today. Scotty Miller of Texas also cleared that height on his second try, but on the misses rule, the winner is Darr, and as you can see, Miller finishes second. And back up to you, Ron.
So Brad Darr out of Michigan is your winner in the pole vault, a little bit better than 17 feet. And we'll take a look at the official results of the women's mile. And just confirms what we've already told you, of course. Patty Sue Plummer, how about that time of 4:31.42?
Well, that's a pretty good time for this time of the year, especially as Patty Sue made note of on this track. This track is kind of slow. It's a slow track, and it's real tough. It makes you work hard, and as she said, she worked hard. But that is a good time for Patty Sue at this point in the year, aiming toward the World Championships in Tokyo in August.
One of the fine competitions that we have coming up next, the Southwest Conference, Southeast Conference, women's 100 meters. As you take a look again at Patty Sue Plummer with those fashionable sunglasses.
You know, this Southwest Conference, Southeast Conference women's 100 meters was added event a couple of days ago, and I think it really lends the credibility to this meet. Brooks Johnson really wants to expand this meet next year to include the Southwest and the Southeast Conference, so that these sponsors like Diet Pepsi and the others can to help provide some development funds for collegiate track and field.
Okay, let's give you the lane assignments. No one will be in lane number 1, but in lane number 2, representing Texas, Crystal Braddock, a freshman. She redshirted last year after being injured, state champion in Michigan at Ann Arbor's Pioneer High School. In lane number 3, Michelle Bookman out of Tennessee. One of the favorites in this event, Camelia Sedana out of Texas, a senior, NCAA 100-meter finalist. She'll be in lane number 4, and also look for her. In lane number 5, a late scratch of Cynthia Moore. Tisha Prather from Tennessee will be in lane number 6, and Stacy Clack out of Texas. Also one of those considered a favorite will be in lane number 7. So you have Texas runners in 2, 4, and lane number 7. Tennessee runners in lane number 3 and lane number 6. It's a clean start.
The women's 100, that is Fields with Tennessee in there.
It's going to be a close race to the finish.
And it looks like Prather of Tennessee out in front, and it's going to be Prather. So Tisha Prather, a semifinalist in the NCAA Indoor 55-meter championships this month. She set the Tennessee record at 24.11 in 200-meter semifinals, but didn't make the final, and she had a fine burst of speed.
Well, she's a great 200-meter runner. She's run a 24:11 for 200 meters, and she looked a bit tentative there in the middle of the race, as did all of these runners. As we noted earlier, this is a transition for them from the indoor season to the outdoor season, and it takes some time to get used to running 100 meters on the track. They all looked a little tentative at the start, looked tentative in the middle of the race, and even at the finish, you can see that none of them really leaned at the finish line. That's something they're going to have to get used to as the spring track season goes on.
And it was a close finish for second. Tamelia Sadana out of Texas appeared to be second. We'll check that officially. And Crystal Braddock out of Texas, third. So Longhorns take second and third, but it's Tennessee, and that young lady, Tisha Prather, is the winner of this Southeast-Southwest Conference Women's 100-meter event.
The start was pretty even. It looked very close at the start. And as I said earlier, people are looking kind of tentative, not quite sure how they're going to feel, not quite sure how it's going to look toward the 50-meter point of this race. But Prather seems to be moving pretty easily. She pulls ahead right about here.
And again, she was last in this field of 5. But then she came on in the middle part of this race as well. I'm wondering what it was that allowed her to overtake the field. And maybe we'll be able to get some type of answer, because I see she is down with Debbie Gore. Debbie, ask her what happened that she got the slow start and where she was able to overcome the field.
Yeah, Ron was asking, you had a slow start. Where did you feel that you picked it up and won it?
Well, about halfway through the race, I felt myself trying to pick up and accelerate and get a good turnover. So I think about halfway through, I knew I could win it.
Okay, she was feeling confident about halfway through.
Well, I mean, not confident, but you know.
You felt that's when you put
yeah,
up the spurt.
Yeah.
Okay, back to you, Ron and Rich.
Really, I thought that Saldana had the best chance of winning that. She was out in front and was running comfortably, and I don't know whether she had some type of physical problem or not, but she didn't seem to respond to the challenge of Prather.
Well, typically at that point in the race, it's a mental problem and not a physical problem. You don't have a whole lot of time to make decisions there, and you got to make them pretty quickly to make a move and respond to a challenge.
There you see Tamela Saldana of Texas finishing second, the timing of 11.77. That is your winning time, 11.86 for Saldana. So we'll take a break here, come back on the other side. Stand by. We've got the Mizuno Men's Mile. Oh, what a field this one is. And we'll be back to set it up for you in just a moment.
I need to know who's news and what's news in business quickly every day.
Today's Wall Street Journal, in 3 concise sections, saves you time yet gives you all the news you need every business day.
I need to know the latest trends in marketing.
And what my competitors are up to.
I need to know what's new in technology.
And how to run a small company.
And how it all affects me.
And I need to know today.
The information you need to compete, clear, concise, complete, in today's Wall Street Journal. Call now and you can have 13 weeks of the Wall Street Journal and this valuable 120-page guide to understanding money and markets. That's 13 weeks of the journal for the news and ideas you need every business day. And this guide free, which tells you everything you want to know about money and markets, all for only $37, a 24% savings off the newsstand price. Call now, toll-free 800-862-3333. That's 800-862-3333 for today's Wall Street Journal.
World Indoor Track Championships in Seville, Spain, where he placed 5th. And he's an Olympian, he's got the experience, and he's going to bring these guys to a real good time today.
He's had an outstanding career, and he chatted with us about that and also his present running condition.
Yeah, well, right as soon as I got ranked number 1, I twisted my ankle, and I basically lost a whole year of training due to that, well, a whole year of racing actually. And since then, I've been trying to get things back together, get my strength back up, get my mental frame of mind back in championship position. I came out of the indoor season basically in 4-minute shape, which was nothing special, but I managed to end up 6th in the World Indoor Championships off of that. So that was a real ego boost for me since I wasn't in that great a shape and still ran well. So 4-minute shape is a good condition to be in March. And so I can build off of that for the rest of the season.
So Jeff Atkinson will be on the inside in lane number 1, and he'll be pushed hard by Robert Kennedy out of Indiana. The junior from Westerville, Ohio, is the 1991 NCAA Indoor Mile champion.
He had a great race a couple of weeks ago at the Indoor NC2A Championships, and I talked with Jeff Atkinson a couple of days ago, and he's concerned about Mr. Kennedy.
The other one to watch out for is Kabiri, Samuel Kabiri out of Washington State, a junior. He was third in the NCAA Indoor Mile earlier this month as well. Let's take a look at the world and American record. Steve Cram out of Great Britain, the world record holder, 3:46.32. The American record is held by Steve Scott, set back in 1982, 3:47.69. Anybody getting close to breaking that American record, Rich?
Not lately. The American record has been pretty stationary. However, Jeff Atkinson is looking at that record pretty closely, and if anyone could have the opportunity to do it in the next year or two, it might be Jeff.
And don't get confused, they have not added hurdles to the mile event here.
There are enough hurdles in the mile than to have to deal with any on the track.
Yeah, that is the next race that's coming up. As you take a look at our field here, Atkinson on the inside, Robert Kennedy out of Indiana, Kabiri from Washington State, Dave Smith from Michigan State, and the rest of the field. Now, I do not see and hear Brian Abshire.
Or Matt Justo.
Or Matt Justo, yeah. And they were scheduled to be. There they are.
There they are, okay. Brian Abshire is the 1988 Olympian also. He was in the steeplechase, and he grew up here in Richmond, California. He won the 1988 U.S. Olympic trials in the steeplechase, and he was the bronze medalist in 1987 in the Pan Am Games steeplechase. And he was second in the steeplechase in the 1989 NC2A Championships.
And there is one thing that I can guarantee you. I can make the statement at the beginning of this race. I guarantee you that Ray Brown will not win this race. And don't you disagree with me, because he is the rabbit in this race, and you might explain that to everyone.
Well, you know, I was talking to Ray the other day about being the rabbit. In years past, being a rabbit or the pace setter in a race was a very dubious distinction because you lost some respect among your competitors. However, being a rabbit is very important in most races now in the United States and in Europe. And Ray feels like he's doing his buddies a favor today. He thinks they all need a good time, especially the collegiate athletes who don't get a chance this early in the season to run against top world-class Olympic competition. So he wants to go out there, set the pace for Jeff and for the college athletes here to make sure that he feels like he's contributing back to track and field by setting this pace and hopefully get a good time here today at Stanford.
And they're getting ready to get this one underway. How does he decide what type of pace it will be?
Well, the pace is decided typically by the top runner in the race. They're probably going to go out in 54, 55 seconds for the 400 meters, which would bring us in for a good time today.
Ray Brown, number 176 as an entry.
And it's real difficult to be a rabbit also because you really have to run and make sure that the athletes behind you can stay in contact with you, but you can't run too fast to move away from them or to make them think that you're trying to run away and steal the race and win it. It looks like right now Ray's doing a pretty good job of being a rabbit in a pace setter. Jeff Atkinson looks like he's right on his tail.
Just watching Atkinson, that very fluid motion, his strides, pumping with the elbows.
Well, Jeff has learned a lot from Brooks Johnson here at Stanford, and talking with him the other day, Jeff said that he used to be a long-distance runner. He used to train long, slow distance, and used to worry about racing because racing used to interfere with his training. But Brooks Johnson is a disciple of speed and form and fluidity, and he's taught Jeff very well in the past few years.
Atkinson probably went over and asked Patty Sue Plummer if he could borrow her sunglasses off of the result because he's wearing them as well.
I think they shop at the same store.
At least they go with the rest of the uniform.
Well, that was a slow first lap. Ray is not doing such a great job being a rabbit today. He may hear about that later on from Jeff and some of the other runners in the race. He's picking the pace up a little bit now. Like I said earlier, it's tough being a rabbit because you don't want to run too fast to lose contact with those athletes.
And Robert Kennedy is in third place behind the rabbit. Brown, Atkinson, and then Robert Kennedy out of Indiana, the 1991 NCAA Indoor Mile champion, had a clocking of 3:58.11. And also the 1990 NCAA Outdoor 1500-meter champion.
And I wouldn't discount Mr. Kabiri back there in fourth place. The Kenyans tend to be very, very smart runners, and they challenge you every step of the way. As Ray Brown comes around to the 800-meter point.
Nobody really staging a kind of you got to catch me approach to this race yet, but I didn't expect that it would be.
Not yet. They're all feeling themselves out. It's early in the season. Jeff looks like he's struggling quite a bit, actually. He looks a little tight and a little tentative. And Ray looks like if he wanted to continue, he could probably win. He looks the most relaxed of all of them, probably because he knows he's not running
the whole mile. And it could be, Rich, that maybe Brown has not set a fast enough pace to allow him to get himself into some type of rhythm for this race, because now I think he is pushing Brown, the rabbit, and beginning to lengthen his lead to about 7 yards.
I think you're right. I think Jeff is pushing Ray. Ray's picked up the pace a little bit, and I'm surprised that Kabiri hasn't made a move. He's back in 5th. He typically waits until the later stages of the race, so he may start doing something fairly shortly.
Kennedy's still in 3rd place. Kabiri in 4th. Now Justo has taken over 4th place.
And Ray Brown has dropped out of the race, and Kennedy is now in 2nd, and Jeff Atkinson he's struggling here. There's no question about it, and I think, as he noted the other day in the press conference, if Kennedy was anywhere near him going into the final lap, he knew that he was going to have a race on his hands, and Kennedy is right there.
One of the things that indicates to me that he's struggling is he's shifting his head from side to side instead of keeping it steady. It's throwing him a little bit off balance.
Yes,
now we have a lead change.
He's not looking good at all. He's back in 3rd place now. You're right, his head was shifting side to side, and his shoulders were looking quite tight.
Mastelier has taken over the lead. Kennedy is 2nd, and Kabiri is 3rd.
And Kabiri's running a smart race. He's pulling to the outside now, and if he has any leg speed at all, he has a chance of winning this. Jeff Atkinson has fallen off the pace. He's in 5th.
And Kabiri, making his move on the outside, has taken over the lead. Kabiri out of Washington State.
As I noted earlier, Kabiri's a smart, strategic runner. He was biding his time. He's opening it up. Has good leg speed, looks very relaxed, and just might not get caught. I'll make a prediction this time, Ron. I don't think anyone's catching Kabiri.
And Kabiri yesterday winning the steeplechase here in the invitational portion of this 3-day meet.
Very talented athlete. Kennedy's running within himself. Kabiri looks very loose, easy, knees up.
And it is Kabiri winning the Mizuno Men's Mile.
3:57 unofficial time. That's a real good time for this early.
And he took over the lead on the backstretch, and he paced himself very, very nicely, hanging back in the number 4 spot until it was very obvious that Atkinson was going to have some problems.
He ran a smart race, Kabiri did. He was trying to count on the pace setter. The pace setter didn't go out as quickly as possible, and he knew it was going to be a race to the finish, and he was counting on his leg speed to pass people on the backstretch with less than 200 meters to go, which is exactly what he did.
It appeared to me that Atkinson, just from a training standpoint, just did not have the stamina, and also the pacing wasn't the type that he could get into. He tightened up very early in this race.
Well, in all fairness to Jeff, he has been training, and he was using this run as a training run, and he wanted to see where he was as a testing situation. He said the other day that he's got 23 weeks to go before the World Championships in August, and that's the race that's important to him.
We'll take a break here, come back, and see if we can't get an interview with our winner, Samuel Kabiri State, with just an outstanding Mizuno Men's Mile. Back with more in a moment.
Many people take everyday items for granted. Take the matchbook, for example. This popular item was invented in 1892 by Joshua Pusey of Pennsylvania. Many products are created or improved by the innovations of individuals. Ideas and inventions come from people in all walks of life. We believe these individuals, like you, are a great source of creativity. If you have an idea, invention, or new product you'd like to submit to industry, Invention Submission Corporation has a free inventor's kit to help you get started. The kit contains a form for recording and dating your invention, an information brochure, and other materials of interest to inventors. Invention Submission Corporation is one of America's largest invention service companies. We can show you how your invention can be packaged and submitted to industry. So call ISC now for your free inventor's kit.
For your free inventor's kit, call toll-free 1-800-253-1000. That's 1-800-253-1000.
Game. Get the inside story on golf's major tournaments and talk directly to your favorite pro. Golf Week. Live from Scottsdale, Friday night at 11 Eastern on Prime Network.
The winner of the Mizuno Men's Mile was Samuel Kabiri from Washington State, and Debbie Gore has him trackside.
Yes, I am here with Samuel, and I was mentioning that was an unofficial 3:57, and you're pretty happy with that time?
Well, I am. I'm very pleased. It's a PL if it's 3:57.
Right, and this being your third race, if you can see here on the monitor here, you're running here. How do you feel at this point in the race?
Well, I was feeling very strong. I knew it would come to a point where everybody would start making the final move, so I was just conserving my energy for that. I was just timing for guys to start moving.
And with the rabbit in the race, did that set a good pace for you, or was that out too quickly, too slowly?
No, I think it was the right pace. It was the right pace, considering that we did 1 minute for the first 400 meters, and then we increased progressively. So it was a good pace.
Yeah, it was a good race for you against some tough competition. Thank you very much. Back to you, Ron and Rich.
I'll tell you what, the Kenyans have brought such a great tradition to the distance running, and Kabiri continuing that tradition today, and such a civility and a sense to that great distance.
The Kenyans have brought a great tradition to distance running, and they're coming back. They dominated the 1988 Seoul Olympics, and they're looking to dominate the World Championships this year and the Olympic Games next year.
Rich, is there anything significant about the fact that Kabiri, Kennedy, and Gusto all finished under 4 minutes?
I think the most significant thing about it is that I think it's the first time that a sub 4-minute mile has been run in the Stanford Stadium since 1968. So to have 3 athletes to break 4 minutes on the last week of March is very significant. It's a great race and great times.
Well, just about what we expected from the great competition here. If you happen to join us late on the Pacific Sports Network, we are at Stanford Stadium, Stanford, California, about 25 miles south of San Francisco for the Diet Pepsi 1991 Track and Field Challenge. And we're now getting ready for the Diet Pepsi Shuttle Hurdles 4x110 hurdle relay. And you want to explain this one as you take a look at the American and world record set by Tennessee in 1981.
Well, I'll do my best to explain this one, Ron. This is really a spectators event. The shuttle hurdle relay race is really a product of the Penn Relays. The Penn Relays has a major shuttle hurdles race each year. The event is not run very often, and typically what happens is that each runner runs a 110-meter high hurdles. They run up and down the straightaway. They hand off or slap the hand of their next teammate who runs down the other length of the straightaway. 4 men, 4 hurdle races. We'll see who does the best.
And as you saw from the earlier graphic, it's Pac-10 and Big Ten in this event only. And let's take a look at the teams. Representing the Pac-10 will be Tony Lee out of Washington State. He'll be the first runner for the Pac-10. He'll be slapping hands with Brian Wright out of Oregon. The number 3 runner for the Pac-10 will be Mark McDonald from Washington State. And the final leg will be handled by Muhammad Oliver out of Oregon. In the Big Ten, it'll be Glenn Terry from Indiana, a sophomore from Cincinnati. Set the national high school record of 13.83 in the 110-meter 42-inch international hurdles as a senior at Sycamore High School in Cincinnati. Tim McCrate at Ohio State, Larry Harden out of Michigan State, and Jerry Douglas, the final leg for the Big Ten.
You know what I think is going to be tough about this hurdles race is this is the first 110-meter hurdle race for each of these runners this year, and to run it in the shuttle hurdles might be a bit disconcerting for them.
As we said, they're keeping score on the Big Ten and the Pac-10, and we'll give you an update on that. There it is right now. Big Ten trailing the Pac-10 76-64 as the gun goes off in this first leg.
Tony Lee's a great hurdler. He's the NCAA 1990-91 indoor champion. Placed 3rd last year in the outdoor championships.
And he hands off to Brian Wright out of Oregon, while it'll be Tim McCrate out of Ohio State for the Big Ten.
Hitting those hurdles can be real painful at this time of the year since they haven't run 110 meters.
Leg number 3, Mark McDonald against Larry Harden out of Michigan State.
Go again. Tony, go again.
He's having a problem.
As I noted earlier, it's tough. They've come from running indoors at 55 meters, and now you're switching around 110 meters. It seems like a distance race to them. And what happened
and
to...
for some reason, we don't have anybody for the Pac-10. So it is going to be the Big Ten winning this race as Jerry Douglas uncontested. And I can't imagine what happened unless Muhammad Oliver dropped out late.
Well, Muhammad Oliver might have looked at his teammates knocking down all those hurdles and decided that he just didn't want to take a shot at it.
So Oliver did drop out. He is in apparently a number of field events as he is the decathlete. But I still don't understand why the Pac-10 didn't put somebody in there.
It must have been a last-minute scratch, and it's unfortunate because it looked like we were going to have a close race to the finish. And this race can really be exciting for spectators if you have close competitors and people who actually want to finish the race.
If I knew that, I could have made a prediction on the outcome of this thing before we even started.
Well, Ron, I thought you were going to suit up and go and run the last leg of that.
Okay, there you see Jerry Douglas winning it for the Big Ten, and we'll be back with more in a moment.
Distant bells, ancient towers, hidden castles, quiet hours. There's something special in the air.
American Airlines with service to 14 European cities and flyaway vacation packages to all of them.
See the bird take me where there's something special in the air.
An update from the Invitational, sponsor of today's 400-meter relay competition. History will be made June 6th and 7th in Sacramento, California, when the GWI Decathlon will be joined by multi-event competition for girls. The inspirational performances of America's Jackie Joyner-Kersee will be in the minds and hearts of all as the inaugural GWI Heptathlon for America's finest female high school seniors takes place on the campus of CSU Sacramento. Fred Bear has an explanation as why the Pac-10 did not have a runner or a hurdler in that final leg. Fred, what's the explanation?
Well, we just talked with Tony Lee and Mark McDonald, who were walking back a little bit dejectedly, the two Washington State athletes in that race, and they just said he didn't show up, referring to Muhammad Oliver, the Oregon athlete who was supposed to run in that race. He's been all over the place today in different events as a decathlete, but he just didn't show up for his high hurdle leg. And that's about all we know about it, Ron.
Kind of interesting. Can you imagine being the number 3 guy coming down and not seeing anybody?
Well, I wouldn't want to be Muhammad Oliver when he runs into John Chaplin, the coach of the Pac-10 team, because John's not going to be very happy about that.
Well, the final leg was run by Jerry Douglas out of Michigan, and I do believe he's down with Debbie Gore in the infield. Go ahead, Debbie.
Yeah, and I was asking Jerry, you weren't even aware that nobody was running with you on that last heat.
No, I just got out, then looked besides, got out.
And you had an opportunity to see your form in that race. What did you think, even though you were running alone?
Yeah, I thought I looked a lot better. I got nipped out of NCAAs indoors, so I'm concentrating on running good outdoors. So.
And what do you think of this format of actually running in a shuttle? Have you run that way before? And what actually are your thoughts on that here in the sunshine?
Well, back in high school we ran it. They put together this little relay, and I haven't ran it in 3 years, so. Just came down.
Okay, so pretty happy with your performance then today here out at Stanford?
Yeah, it's our first meet outdoors, so yeah, it'll get better.
I hear your teammates cheering for you in the background, but thanks for your time, Jerry Douglas.
All right, thank you.
Take a look at the scores for the Pac-10. Actually, we'll take a look at Douglas's final run there. You notice he took a glance to his left and didn't see anybody in the blocks.
And he probably relaxed himself quite a bit there, too, because he knew that he could just take it easy and clear all the hurdles and make it to the finish.
So despite losing to the Big Ten, the Pac-10 still has a 20-point lead after 7 events, 100-80. And our next event coming up is going to be Togo's Pac-10 Big Ten Women's Mile Relay. Also, earlier today, we had the Mercury News men's 3,000-meter steeplechase, and it was a fine competition with a great field. Mark Krogan out of Ohio State was the man to beat. He was the NCAA defending champion in this event, also the defending Big Ten champion, senior from Greene, Ohio, and number 2 ranked U.S. steeplechaser for 1990, and he had the 29th best time in the world in his first steeplechase race of 1991. This event held earlier today. Let's take a look at some of that competition.
The steeplechase is a pretty grueling event. It's 7.5 laps. You have to jump over water jumps and hurdles, and most of the athletes who run this race have to be strong and quick, and also have to be able to hurdle.
Krogan broke out into the lead from the starting gun and led this one from start to end. So we'll show you how this race finished up, and we'll do all of that as we continue with more from Stanford Stadium with this, the 1991 Diet Pepsi Track and Field Challenge.
Next on the track, the
How many times have you said, if I only had the money, I'd own my own business, buy my dream house, live a better life? Money is available. So if you need money for any reason, the Money Catalog shows you where to find it. 220 pages list over 5,000 sources of money. Names, addresses, and phone numbers of the people to contact to get the money you need. The Money Catalog can be yours for this low price, and that includes shipping. If you're serious about finding money, call this toll-free number. Call now and you'll receive this bonus, How to Borrow Money from a Bank, the book that shows you how to get your loan approved. Take the first step toward a better life today. Call now and order the Money Catalog, your access to the money you need. Here's how to order.
The Money Catalog is available only through this offer. Call 1-800-743-1707 and use your credit card for 3 easy payments of $22.95 plus a $3.50 service charge, or send check or money order for $69.95 to the address on your screen.
There was the field for the Mercury News men's 3,000-meter steeplechase. Mark Krogan was the man that everybody was gunning for out of Ohio State. Hill, Barquist, Price, Barnett, and the rest of the field as well. Finley, Carter, Pogue out of Army, Martin, and Bell. So we showed you the start of the race. Let's take a look at the end of the race. As from start to finish, Mark Krogan led this race. Aaron Pogue out of Army was second for a short time, but really never seriously challenged Krogan. And then Robert Price from Washington State took over second place halfway through and was able to hold on to the end to finish in second place, with third place going to John Hill out of Washington State.
Krogan ran a very smart, fast, comfortable race today for his first steeplechase of the season, and I'm sure he's quite pleased with his performance.
As you can see, this is the final lap, and Krogan running very, very comfortably.
As I said earlier, the steeplechase is a tough event because you have to be strong, you have to have the strength of a 5,000-meter runner, plus you have to have the speed of a 1,500-meter runner, plus you have to have the talent and the ability to hurdle those barriers, which do not move if you hit them. You can ask Henry Marsh about that. Henry Marsh is a perennial U.S. champion in the steeplechase, and he hit a barrier and fell down, leading the World Championships in 1983 in Helsinki.
Saw Krogan there going over the water barrier, and you can see he was not too sure of his footing. That becomes a particular problem when you get to that final lap.
I've never run the steeplechase, but I'm sure that it must be a real problem having your shoes wet and your feet wet and trying to run over hurdles.
So Mark Krogan of Ohio State wins and adds some more point totals for the Big Ten. As you can see, his time 8:34.64. Price from Washington State and Hill from Washington State finishing second and third, and then Big Ten once again in the number 4 slot. So we'll take a break here, come back on the other side. When we come back, we've got the women's mile relay for you as we continue with more with the Diet Pepsi Track Challenge.
Who's the toughest on motorcycles? Motorcycle Magazine critics. So what did they say about Kawasaki? Need we say more? Get into Kawasaki Performance now for as little as $29.99.
Now at Bike World Kawasaki in Sunnyvale.
Mizuno is recognized worldwide as a leader in running and track and field state-of-the-art technology. For innovative performance sports footwear, equipment, and apparel, choose Mizuno. So we're ready now for the Togo's women's mile relay. There will be 3 teams represented here: Big Ten, Pac-10, and the University of Tennessee. For the Big Ten, Arnita Green of Ohio State, Susan Francis from Michigan State, Janice Foster from Ohio State, Nancy Goldman out of Indiana. For the Pac-10, it'll be Rosie Williams from Oregon, also her teammate Kim Hudson, Rhonda Oliver from Stanford, and Jennifer Carpenter from Washington State. And Tennessee has Shea Bible, Tisha Prather, who won the 100-meter event a short time ago, Mallory Ivy, and Patricia Leroy.
You know, Ron, the mile relay is one of my favorite events. It's always very exciting, and I think we're going to have a real close, fast race here today.
And they're off.
The strategy in this race, Ron, is that the lead-off person really has to run the hardest race. They're running a 400-meter race from scratch. Their job is to bring it in the lead or within 5 yards of the leader.
As you can see, they're coming down the backstretch, and they're pretty much even. But on the inside, Arnita Green of Ohio State takes the lead over Shea Bible, and in third place, Rosie Williams from Oregon. Now Williams has moved into second place.
Running the third 100 meters is the most important sector of the 400-meter race. And as you can see, they've made their move in the turn. It looks like
Arnita Green is in the lead, followed by Rosie Williams, and then Shea Bible.
They're all tying up a little bit. Again, it is early in the season.
Good exchange all the way through, but it was very obvious that Shea Bible was struggling badly and put at a great disadvantage Tisha Prather.
The second place runner's job is to maintain position. Typically in the mile relay, your weakest 400-meter person is designated to run the second leg, because their job is to just maintain the position and make sure they don't lose the lead if they've got it, or not lose any position if they don't have it.
And quickly, it's also Tisha Prather making a move on the outside. Looks like she's going to take over second place, and does, as she passes Kim Hudson of Oregon, but still out in the front is Susan Francis of Michigan State.
Prather's probably got quite an advantage. This is the second race today, and typically in your second race of the day, you feel a lot looser, a lot smoother than you did in your first race. However, she's being challenged on the inside.
Hudson makes a brief run at her and now falls back into third place as they get ready for the exchange. And again, a clean exchange. And this time it's going to be Janice Foster for the Big Ten, Rhonda Oliver out of Stanford for the Pac-10, and Mallory Ivy for Tennessee.
When you're running a relay like this with 4 athletes who've never run together before, the relay exchanges are going to be very conservative and very safe. As you can see, most of them are standing there waiting until their teammate gets close enough so they can just turn around and grab the baton, not taking any chances of dropping it.
And again, it's a battle in the backstretch as Rhonda Oliver of Stanford. Looks like she's making a run for second, but falls back into third. Mallory Ivy will not let her by.
Rhonda's best 400-meter time is 55:21, so she's tough and she's strong, and she is challenging for that second place spot right now, and in fact may challenge the leader. She's running a great
making up great ground on Janice Foster of Ohio State. And we come up to the leg lap, the home lap.
It's the anchor lap.
It's Nancy Goldman of Indiana for the Big Ten. Jennifer Carpenter out of Washington State for the Pac-10, and Patricia Leroy for the University of Tennessee. Last lap.
Jennifer Carpenter has the fastest 400-meter time of any of the women in this race today. She's taking it out. She's trying to relax a little bit, concerned that she may be overtaken in this final 200 meters of this mile relay.
Boy, I tell you, she's got a great stride, Patricia Leroy, just watching her through the glasses. Big, long, easy strides, but she's got a lot of ground to make up. As Nancy Goldman of Indiana representing the Big Ten, not wanting to give up any ground. Here they come to the top of the head stretch, the home stretch.
Yeah, she was being pretty conservative. She conserved a lot of her energy for this last 110 meters of this race. However, if someone were close to her, as you can see, she sits back on her haunches a bit. If someone were close to her, they would probably catch her.
So it's going to be Big Ten, Tennessee, and Pac-10 finishing 1, 2, 3 in the women's mile relay.
3:41:22 is the unofficial time, and that's a pretty good time for this early in the season for a women's mile relay.
Where was this race won, Rich?
The race was probably won in the second leg. Once the lead was established, it was maintained, and they just never relinquished the lead. The second place runner did her job. She maintained that position.
Of course, when you get down to the end of the competition and you've been running in other events and what have you, the fatigue factor, especially on what has turned out to be a rather warm day, can come into play.
Well, sometimes it can and sometimes it can't. I think once athletes are conditioned, the fatigue factor that usually comes into play is the mental fatigue. But after you've run a couple of races during the day, you're pretty loose and you're not nervous like you might have been in the first race, and you're just ready to run as hard as you possibly can.
As Rich said, this race really somewhat determined by the end of the first lap and into the second, and let's watch the exchange.
Did not finish.
Looks like a fairly clean exchange. Had the Pac-10 team had a stronger second place runner, they may have had an opportunity to challenge at this point. But Kim Hudson is just not in the condition that she probably wants to be in at this point of the year.
And let's just take a look at the finish officially as it is. As the Big Ten wins it, it was Tennessee second and the Pac-10 third. 3:41:2, the finishing time. We'll be back with the men's mile relay. That is forthcoming, so stay with us.
Prime Sports Northwest brings you the NHL at its best. From the first round of the 16-team divisional playoffs through the conference championships, Prime Sports Northwest will take you all the way to the top. The 1991 quest for the Stanley Cup and the championship series itself are on Prime Sports Northwest. Check your local listings for the next Stanley Cup action on Prime Sports Northwest.
This is a golfer. He'll play anywhere. Golf Digest magazine helps his game anywhere he plays with instructional articles from top pros. So, wherever you play better with Golf Digest.
Get a full year of Golf Digest for $19.77. Call 800-453-4300 now and get our free half-hour instructional video with your paid subscription. Call 800-453-4300 now.
Down on the side is Debbie Gord. She's got the winning women's team out of the Big Ten. Debbie.
I'm here, with the winners. And having not run together in this kind of format, what did this feel like for you?
Well, in our warm-up, we tried to warm up together and stretch together so that we can have a sense of unity before we came out to run the relay.
Now, it seemed like you had established a small lead and that, Susan, you held on to it. What was your thinking when you got the baton from Arnita?
I didn't want to disappoint the team, so I just went out and tried to keep the lead.
Okay, so, and for you two also, I mean, holding on to the lead, were you afraid that there was someone catching you on that third leg, though, because it looked like it was getting closer, even though it was still a commanding lead?
Well, actually, I didn't know the girl was coming up on me. I was trying so hard to get the baton to Nancy. I really didn't think about anybody coming up on me at all.
Okay, and then there was, of course, the final leg. That's the women's mile relay, and back to you, Ron and Rich.
And one more time, we take a look at the official results with the times. All of them very, very close, within about 2.5 seconds of each other. But it's the Big Ten in 3:41.5, Tennessee 3:43.1, and with a clocking of 3:43.9, the Pac-10. The women's score in the competition, as we said, they're only keeping numbers on the Pac-10 and Big Ten competition in this invitational. This is the women's final as it goes to the Pac-10 in a very closely competed day, 77-69. And now we move on to the men's mile relay, the Holiday Inn men's mile relay. And this will have just simply two teams. It'll be the Pac-10 against the Big Ten. James Crampton will be on the Pac-10 team out of Stanford. Also to be William Knight from Washington State, who is the Washington State High School champion back in 1988. Curtis Wilson out of Oregon, a junior from Portland, Oregon. Also made the University of Oregon basketball team as a walk-on his freshman year. And Michael Jobert out of Washington State will run the final lap. The Big Ten team, Jordan Gray from Ohio State. Michigan State will have Tony Nelson running for them. Jerry Douglas from Michigan, and as you saw, Aaron Payne out of Ohio State.
I can't wait to see Jobert and Aaron Payne go at it on the anchor leg. Jobert is 5'5", ran a 45.89 last year, and just a tough guy. Aaron Payne's a wide receiver for Ohio State, and he's a tough competitor also.
But on this lap, it's James Crampton out of Stanford against Jordan Gray.
Jordan Gray ran the intermediate hurdles yesterday in an invitational event, and he won them, running 51.47, so he may be feeling the effects of that. However, he looks pretty good right now.
Crampton leading Gray as they come down the head of the stretch.
Crampton's looking real strong coming down the last straightaway.
He'll be handing off to William Knight, while Gray will be giving the baton to Tony Nelson from Michigan State.
William Knight so far is running a tremendous leg. He's running a great turn. He looks strong, fluid. His arms are pumping. Tony Nelson's looking pretty good back there from Michigan State also. He's really running the backstretch pretty well. And he's gaining some ground as he goes into the 200-meter point of his race.
About a 10-yard deficit for Nelson to make up over William Knight.
Again, as I noted earlier, the second man's job is to maintain position.
Coming up on 1:30 into the race. And the exchange, Knight to Curtis Wilson from Oregon, Nelson to Jerry Douglas out of Michigan.
Nelson has run a great leg here. He's closed up about 5 meters as he hands off to his third-place teammate. The third man's job is to go ahead. That's called the go-ahead leg. When I was running the mile relay in college, I had the pressure of having to go ahead, take the lead or maintain position at least 5 yards behind the leader.
So midway far through this third lap, it's Curtis Wilson against Jerry Douglas, with Wilson out in front. It's going to come down to Michael Jobert of Washington State and Aaron Payne of Ohio State.
Wilson's looking very strong and smooth. However, his head just went back a little bit as we come to the last 40 meters of his leg. Aaron Aaron Payne's got the handoff for the Big Ten, but Jobert's got about a 40-meter lead on him, and he's going to be real tough to catch.
Payne, a football player, a wide receiver for John Cooper's Ohio State squad.
You know, Ron, I've got to note that most of these athletes today have really done a good job competing. It's early in the season. They've had some good performances. They all look loose and relaxed and look like they're having a good time. And that's what's really important about these early season races.
Well, I'll tell you what, the intensity that Joubert has maintained from the moment he took the baton, he has not given it up to any degree, and it's going to be awfully hard for Payne to catch him.
But Payne has gained some ground. He's probably picked up about 4 meters on Joubert.
But it is going to be Pac-10 winning this one, with Joubert finishing it off by about 20 meters over Aaron Payne and the Big Ten.
You know, both of these teams have got to be real happy with the performance. The unofficial time appears to be 3:09:25, and that's real fast for this time of the year, given the fact that they've just come off an indoor season. This is the first mile relay for a lot of them, the first 400 meters outdoors for a lot of them. So they really did a good job today.
Okay, we'll take a quick break here, come back on the other side, continue with more from Stanford Stadium.
Washington State.
Over the years, we've made a few changes to keep up with the times. But some things about our beer never change. Like fresh hops from the Yakima Valley, the Northwest's finest malting barley, and pure water from the mighty Cascade Range. Which is why, around here, it's Rainier.
Prime Sports Northwest, TCI Cablevision, and the University of Washington have teamed up to form Kids Sports. The Huskies Kids Sports program makes available over 1,600 tickets for area youngsters to see Huskies athletics live. Tickets are being distributed through Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and the Boys and Girls Clubs. Kids Sports is fun. Kids Sports is important. Join Prime Sports Northwest, TCI Cablevision, and the University of Washington Kids Sports.
The speed, the power. Get the inside story on America's favorite thrill sport. Join host Eli Gold for This Week in NASCAR. Live from Darlington, Thursday night at 11 Eastern on Prime Network.
So the Pac-10 is a winner over the Big Ten in the men's mile relay, and I see Debbie has down on the sideline the winning Pac-10 team. Go ahead, Debbie.
Yeah, and I have all the winners here, and we're going to see a segment between the second and third legs, hopefully. And here you see the winners. And how do you feel about running in this format? I was asking some of the other athletes running with other folks in the Pac-10 who you're unfamiliar with.
Well, it's a lot of fun to run with the guys that, under normal circumstances, we would be adversaries. But now it's much more a team-oriented atmosphere. It's a lot of fun to do that.
Okay, and I don't know, are we going to get that, the leg of the second and third runners? Well, that's where I think there was an advantage. Where did you think that it opened up for you?
It opened up with our third leg, Curtis Wilson right here. He broke it in for us, and after that, given to our anchorman, Michael Joubert, win was there.
So what was your thinking here then? Obviously, as you came into the lead around the corner, did you realize you had that much of a kick there?
No, because basically I thought that whoever was third leg was going to come up and try to catch me and make me earn it, but he never tried to advance toward the first spot, so I just held it, maintained the same speed, so I was happy with that.
Okay, so I guess that's the result of the men's mile relay, and we'll take it back up to you guys.
I got to tell you, the toughest interview to do in sport is with somebody who has just either run for a touchdown or run a track meet.
It can be tough.
Very impressive performance, and we're about ready for what is really kind of one of the showcase events of this 1991 Diet Pepsi Track Challenge as you take a look at the members of the winning Pac-10 team that won the men's mile relay. And let us run down this star-studded field for you because it's, well, as I pointed out at the outset of our telecast, one of the things the National Football League looks for is
University football
the 40 timings. Aaron Payne, who just finished running the relay, and I would have to question and wonder what effect that might have on him, will be in lane number 1 from Ohio State. Sophomore from Louisville, Kentucky. Wide receiver, as we said. Was a champion as a freshman and sophomore in the 55 and 200 at the Big Ten Indoor Championships. In lane number 2, the senior from Stanford carried the ball for 12 times for 49 yards last season after suffering a serious knee injury, but caught a team-leading 43 passes in 88. Charlie Young. Alan Haller out of Michigan State, a junior from Lansing, Michigan, will be in lane number 3. But the middle of the track is where your attention should be. In lane number 4, Glenn Milburn, a junior from Santa Monica, California, from Stanford, certainly one of the nation's top running backs. He set school and Pac-10 records for all-purpose yards in a game. He had 379 against California, while setting the school record for all-purpose yards in a season, 2,222. Led the NCAA and the Pac-10 in all-purpose running. There you see him scoring a touchdown on the pass reception. To his right, out of San Jose State, senior from Lompoc, California, Sheldon Canley has rewritten the San Jose State football record book by setting 16 career and season marks as the Spartans won the Big West Conference and the California Raisin Bowl crowns. He finished second in the country to Milburn in all-purpose yards. His 2,213 yards was 9 yards behind Milburn. Mike Mayweather, as you take again a look at Canley, fine running back out of Army. Army's career rushing leader with 4,299 yards. And he is the only Army player to rush for 1,000 yards in a season more than once, and he did it 3 times. Tico Duckett from Michigan State, a junior from Kalamazoo, Michigan, starting tailback on Michigan State's football team. And then in lane number 8, out of Stanford again, the senior from Tucson, Arizona, John Volpe, rushed for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns as a sophomore in 1988. That is your field for the Diet Pepsi Football 40 as they are in the blocks.
You know what's important about this football 40 run is that a lot of track and field guys always look askance at the 40 times, the football 40 times. Well, this is going to be a legitimate 40-yard dash, timed electronically, a real time for the scouts in the NFL draft. These athletes are serious about it.
And as we suspected, because of his last race, Aaron Payne of Ohio State has dropped out. And as you can see, everybody trying to get a little bit of an advantage. And yet John Volpe back at the back, he looks a little bit disgusted. He is still back there saying, hey guys, that's Volpe that you're taking a look at nearest to the camera.
he was caught in the blocks. He's glad they brought that one back.
Volpe and Charlie Young, his teammate at Stanford, they just kind of looked at each other and smiled.
As I was saying, Ron, if these guys can get a real legitimate, automatically timed 40-yard dash, it's going to bode well for them in the upcoming NFL draft.
Milburn is wearing a football jersey, by the way, and I'll tell you, we're not even going to try to call this one because it's going to be over so quickly. We'll just let you watch it, enjoy it. Just get the feeling for the intensity and the tenseness down there in the blocks. False start. Canley came out too early.
Anxious for that automatic time.
Well, it's only 40 yards, but you know, I'll tell you what, he just explodes out of the blocks. You can see why. Look at his upper body.
He's a big guy. I wouldn't want to run into him with pads on.
You can see he was already almost a half a step ahead of the field.
At least Volpe did get out this time when the gun went off. To explain what a football 40 is, when scouts run these guys through their 40-yard dashes at the NFL training camps, they get a running start. That's called the football 40. No running start here, although with the false start, they're trying to get one.
Tell you what, you take a look at Milburn, who is in lane number 4, and Canley, who is in lane number 5. You just compare their size, but both just outstanding athletes. But keep an eye also on Alan Haller out of Michigan State. As they step back into the blocks, we have had 2 false starts in this football field, and they're off cleanly this time. And it looked like on the inside it might be Tico Duckett.
Tico Duckett, got it.
Tico Duckett out of Michigan State. I was also taking a look at Alan Haller, and Milburn may have pulled up. He's got his hand on his hip a little bit, and he is limping just ever so slightly.
You know, he probably got a cramp in the blocks. These guys are not used to running out of blocks, and it's a very difficult position to be in if you're not used to it.
There you can see Canley to the right of Milburn. Haller taking a step advantage there.
Oh,
and he just pulls up
his hamstring.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you don't think Denny Green, if he is watching this afternoon, doesn't say, "Oh no."
Not a good sign when the athlete reaches back and grabs the belly of the thigh.
But Duckett in the lane, second closest, lane number 7, pulls away and wins it.
Looks like Volpe was in there.
Volpe was in there too. But unofficially, we have it at Duckett, Haller, and Canley.
Milburn's walking away. Probably going to get some ice on that hamstring immediately. He probably didn't pull it.
There is Tico Duckett. The Holiday Inn Palo Alto Stanford is proud to be the host hotel for the Stanford Invitational Track Meet, offering an award-winning Sunday brunch. And also this reminder, a note of interest for track and field fans about the sponsor of today's high school 400-meter relay competition. Golden West Invitational. This competition, which for more than 3 decades has hosted America's outstanding graduating high school seniors and boasts 4 outstanding national records, is scheduled for June 6th, 7th, and 8th in Sacramento, California. Past participants in the GWI include Bob Beeman, Jim Ryan, Dwight Stones, Danny Everett, Steve Lewis, Willie Banks, Calvin Smith, Russ Francis, James Lofton, Art Monk, and Michael Carter. Evelyn Ashford ran in her senior year and blazed the path for such outstanding competitors as Stanford's Christy Gaines and others who are competing here today. We'll take a break, come back on the other side. We'll to wrap things up with this 1991 Diet Pepsi Track Challenge. Don't go away.
I need to know who's news and what's news in business quickly every day.
Today's Wall Street Journal, in 3 concise sections, saves you time yet gives you all the news you need every business day.
I need to know the latest trends in marketing.
And what my competitors are up to.
I need to know what's new in technology.
And how to run a small company.
And how it all affects me.
And I need to know today.
The information you need to compete, clear, concise, complete, in today's Wall Street Journal. Call now and you can have 13 weeks of the Wall Street Journal and this valuable 120-page guide to understanding money and markets. That's 13 weeks of the journal for the news and ideas you need every business day. And this guide free, which tells you everything you want to know about money and markets, all for only $37, a 24% savings off the newsstand price. Call now, toll-free 800-862-3333. That's 800-862-3333 for today's Wall Street Journal.
We'll give you the official finish and the times, but quickly, let's go down to Debbie Gore.
And I'm here with Tico Duckett, the winner of the 40-yard dash. What does it mean to run in this kind of format and beat the competition that was here to you?
It means a lot to me. It shows what I can do across the country, especially out on the West Coast. And it means a lot. It shows what I can do. It's early in the season. I hope I can improve.
Okay, thank you then. And we'll go right on over to John Burrell, the National Account Manager here in South Bay, to make a presentation for Pepsi.
Coach, I'd like to congratulate you on behalf of Diet Pepsi as the winner of the both men's and women's competition for the championship of the 1991 Diet Pepsi Track Challenge.
Well, thank you. On behalf of the Pacific 10 and Big 10 coaches, we thank Pepsi for all its support of track and field here in the area.
Thank you.
And that's official and a wrap from us. Back to you, Ron and Rich.
And that support and sponsorship so very important to a field like track and field. Let's take a look at the official finish for the Football 40, the Diet Pepsi Football 40. It was Tico Duckett winning it out of Michigan State with an official timing of 4.73. John Volpe did finish second on the outside. He had not a particularly good lane, but he finished strong. 4.77 is his time. Also, it was Haller finishing third, and Canley out of San Jose State was fourth. And as you saw, Glenn Milburn also came up limp, and we'll have to take a look and find out what the nature of that injury is. The Diet Pepsi 1991 Track Challenge has been brought to you by the great taste of Diet Pepsi. You've got the right one, baby. And by your local cable system operator. Well, it's been a grand day for us here on the Pacific Sports Network, and we hope wherever you might be around the Bay Area or around the country watching that you enjoyed this 1991 Diet Pepsi Track Challenge. On behalf of my broadcasting partners, Rich Nichols, also Debbie Gore, and Fred Bear, thank you very much. I'm Ron Barr. Have a nice afternoon.
From 64 to 4, the favorites and the underdogs. Can the domination continue? Is an upset in the works. Rick Pitino and top coaches and players handicap the remaining teams still feeling March Madness. The Final Four preview. Saturday at 5 Eastern on Prime Network. Available on most Prime affiliates.
Are you concerned about job security? Could you suddenly be thrust into having to look for a new job? And are you prepared? Well, here's your answer. Cut weeks off your job search. Increase your present salary and get into the hot jobs of the 90s. Use Super Job Search, a state-of-the-art job search guide written by Peter K. Studner, a leading career consultant and creator of the Black Belt Candidate Training Program, who's personally helped thousands of people into new careers and jobs. This comprehensive manual provides all you need to know to become an outstanding candidate. Get your dream job. Invest $22.95 plus tax and shipping for your personal copy of Super Job Search. Our unconditional guarantee, use Super Job Search for 30 days. If it doesn't help you, return it to us in resaleable condition, and we'll refund your sales price, no questions asked. As an added bonus, we'll include a demo of Super Search software, a complete networkers management program that helps you keep track of all your contacts, provide follow-up lists, and makes job search management a snap. Call now, 1-800-825-A-JOB. That's 1-800-825-A-JOB. Take a step to getting the right job today. 1-800-825-A-JOB.
Prime Northwest
Coming
Sports.
around the screen, left side Ellis, but the ball goes right to Derek McKee, working on Aguirre, goes inside, fires a left-handed shot, good!
Garcia.
This weekend, college basketball's best are meeting here in the Midwest at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. Hi, everybody. I'm John Walls, along with Kentucky basketball coach Rick Pitino, and welcome to the finals in Indy. Rick, for the next hour, we're going to be talking about the Final Four, but to many, it is a moot point. It's UNLV and then the other three.
Well, great game first, North Carolina, Kansas. The student and the pupil, that's going to be exciting. Who will win that chess match? But then Vegas Duke, the revenge game from last season's Final Four. I'm not sure anybody can play David and beat Goliath, but certainly they're going to toss it up and see what happens.
Yeah, there's a lot more to talk about here than just basketball at the Final Four. Mike Goldberger is our man out and about town, and he's checking out some of the hoops hysteria here in Indianapolis. Mike?
Thanks, John and Rick. I'm here at the historic Union Station, the original sports bar. This is the fans' headquarters for this Final Four tournament. You know, a plethora of players, coaches, and of course basketball fanatics are here in Indianapolis this weekend. The question is, what would they do when they're not watching basketball games? Plenty, and we'll show you exactly what that is later on in the show.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. As you can see, the hoops hysteria starting to crank up here, as is our program. We're tipping off here in the finals in Indy, and Rick joining us, some of the top college coaches in the country. Also, we're going to name the LA Gear Catapult Player of the Year, our two finalists, Shaquille O'Neal of LSU and Larry Johnson of UNLV. That's a tough pick.
Tough twosome to choose from. Shaquille O'Neal, probably the most dominant big man in all of basketball, and Larry Johnson having a 2-year run like no other player in college basketball.
All of that coming up on the finals from Indy.
March Madness, the finals in Indianapolis, is being brought to you by Catapult, with the anti-fatigue rebound mechanism that you can actually feel, from LA Gear. By Mobile, Mobile One Synthetic Motor Oil. Isn't your car worth the extra protection? By JVC, we just made recorded history again. And by True Value Hardware Stores. Got a tough job to do? You can do it with True Value.
The paint that's guaranteed to last is now at its lowest price of the year. Sears Weather Beater Premium Satin Finish, on sale for only $13.99. Only through Saturday during the National Hardware Sale at Sears.